The Fallout TV series was finally released on the 10th of April, and I feel that it's been long enough now for me to gather my thoughts and give you all a chance to watch the show yourselves, so we can sit down and finally review it. As soon as the show was announced, I was obviously a little bit optimistic because video game adaptations usually suck ass, but then we got all this information coming out, like Walton Goggins was attached and Jonathan Nolan was producing and writing, and some of the set leaks came out, and I suddenly had really high hopes for this show. And if you've been subscribed to me for a while, you know that I've been singing the praises of this show just from how it looks from the leaks and the trailers for a while now. And well, I am extremely happy to say that the Fallout series has absolutely blown my already high expectations away. Now, before we fully dive into the review, let me just quickly say the reason that I'm going to probably just put Fallout 4 gameplay into the background of this video rather than clips from the show is to avoid copyright. Anyway, let's get into it. This series just is Fallout through and through to its very core. It's nothing short of unbelievable how just perfectly this series fits into both the canon and the lore of the Fallout franchise. It is easily, without a doubt, the best video game, movie, or series adaptation that I have ever watched. Every second was pure perfection, and I'm like desperate for another season. One of the best parts of the entire series for me was just simply the three main characters, Lucy, the Ghoul, and Maximus. All three of these characters are super likeable and enjoyable every single time that they're on screen, and all for different reasons. Lucy is so fun to watch as she slowly begins to adapt to the wasteland around her. The Ghoul is just a complete badass every single scene that he's in, and Maximus definitely had the funniest moments in the series for me. But besides all of the amazing characters, like I said, every single character is really enjoyable. Even the side characters, all of them were so great, so well written and acted. But besides that, the pure accuracy of this show from the games is just remarkable. Everything from the signs on store walls, to the cigarette packets that Cooper Howard smokes, to even just the map on the Pip-Boy, the accuracy again was just pure perfection. I really could not be happier with the way the series looked, all of the set designs and the props. It was just fucking amazing. And there are so many things taken straight from the games. And we're going to start getting a little bit spoilery here, so if you haven't finished the show yet, this is your warning to come back later if you do care about spoilers. Okay, but we even see things such as the junk jet, which I would have never thought that they would bother putting in the series, before say a Fat Man or a laser rifle, and we'll talk more about that and other weapons more in a moment. A few other smaller things I really loved. Of course, the music in particular, again, just perfect. I loved the scene when they mentioned the Commonwealth, and once I heard that Minutemen radio music in the later episodes, a small part of me really did think that we would see the Minutemen, and honestly, just a very small part of me was a little bit bummed out that it wasn't a Minuteman on the radio. But anyway, I loved how hilariously violent the show is, again, just like the games. But beyond that, the show also does a lot of things that I actually always felt were missing from especially recent Fallout games. Some of the more darker stuff that Bethesda seems to be somewhat scared to do, such as showing baby skeletons, just for one example. I really loved that scene because it shows how horrific the wasteland of Fallout truly is behind all of the humorous stuff. One of the reasons I love Fallout as a franchise is because of its dark humour, but I love it when it gets serious too, which is why I love Fallout 1 and why Fallout 1 remains to be my favourite Fallout game, because it had the darker tones and stories that some of the more recent games I feel are a little bit more scared to do, and I'm really glad that we got to see more of that here. Now, one thing I do really want to mention is the episode length, because that's great too. And I know that that's something you probably won't really hear that from other people's reviews, but I just had to mention it. As a big Marvel fan, I'm so used to shows I'm looking forward to ending up being just 6 episodes long and only like 20 to 30 minutes per episode, and it just feels like a really longed out and stretched out movie over an actual TV series. But each episode in Fallout is about an hour long, and it just never feels longer than it should. I think the pacing of the show is one of its best parts. My favourite Easter egg in the entire series, if you look, I can't remember what episode it is, I apologise for that, but there's a poster of A Boy and His Dog with Cooper Howard on it as an Easter egg to the actual film A Boy and His Dog, which is one of the films that inspired the creation of the Fallout franchise, and it's a film that I actually just genuinely really love, so I was super happy to see an Easter egg for that, and I think that the way they did it, like by saying that it was Cooper Howard who starred in it, was really good. The one thing that I know a lot of people didn't like, but I actually really enjoyed, was the robotic power armor voice. I'm not sure why some people did find it jarring, but hey, to each their own. I just really enjoyed it myself. I thought it made a lot of sense, both for Maximus's story, of course, and just because I feel like your voice would change if you were sitting in a tin can suit of power armor. But even though this is easily the best video game adaptation I've ever seen to live action, I do have some complaints. But honestly, they are so small that I could very easily do this review without mentioning any of them. However, I do still want to go over them just very, very quickly. Although, again, I just really need to note that none of these things ruin the show. None of them are even particularly bad, I just found them kind of odd. The first thing was the 3 interconnected vaults. At first I thought that this was very weird and I wasn't really sure how to feel about it. But by the end of the show, I didn't care at all, so there is that. There was a scene where, and this is probably my biggest complaint, and once I tell you, you're gonna laugh, like really, that's your biggest complaint? But honestly it was. There's a scene where the Overseer's picture comes up on the Pip-Boy, and I don't know what it was, but it looked very weird to me, and super out of place. I really don't know how to describe it, but it was just odd. I didn't like it, it just looked really weird. Maybe it's just the way they shot it, I don't know, it looked weird. Now the only other thing I could complain about is the fact that we didn't really see any Super Mutants or Deathclaws, although we do see teasers to both of them. I would have really liked to see them here, but hey, that Deathclaw skull popping up right at the end, to me anyway, looks like their way of saying, yeah, you're gonna see a Deathclaw in Season 2. So that's fine, as long as we see one at some point, I'll be happy. But with all of the very stupid complaints done, of course the biggest thing from the series is Vault-Tec. We do find out that they dropped the bombs, causing the fallout, or at least it looks like it was them. This has been a theory for a very long time in the games, and actually one of my very first videos on the channel was about this theory. I've always loved this theory, it's always been my headcanon, and it's something that I actually wished that the games would explore. I've believed this since I first played Fallout 3, which was my first Fallout game as a kid. So when they had the scene of Cooper Howard's wife, the music suddenly dropping, and she just says, "By dropping the bomb ourselves," I got goosebumps. I was smiling so hard, and I just thought to myself, I knew it. But look, overall, let's just try to wrap up very quickly. I fucking loved every single second of this show. I honestly could not be happier with the way they took it. I could sit here and talk about it all day. I'm already doing a second rewatch. I'm already hyped for the second season. And of course, we will be covering any and all Fallout series news on the channel now that I know the show is amazing. By the way, if you do want a place to hang out and chat about the show, we do have a channel dedicated to just the Fallout series in our Discord server at the moment, so feel free to join if you'd like. I just wanted to point that out for anyone looking for a place to chat about the show. But again, overall, it was perfect. I really could not be happier as a lifelong Fallout fan. I think that it is the best film we've gotten from Fallout since probably Fallout New Vegas, or at least since Fallout 4. Like I said, it was just perfect and I really couldn't be happier. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, I do kindly ask that you leave it a like before you go if you can. And if you do want to stay up to date on straight to the point Fallout content, along with plenty of other Bethesda news such as Elder Scrolls or Starfield, this is definitely the place for you, so please do consider subscribing. We would absolutely love to have you join us. Lastly, as always, a huge, massive thank you to our channel members. But with all of that said and done, I thank you all so much for watching, and I really hope to see you next time. Peace.